Welcome to Teaching Truth. My name is Glenn Cartwright. Grand designs. That's the theme for our reflections over these weeks as we seek to dig into and explore the Nehemiah memoirs. One of the most famous and exciting memoirs of the ancient world. Memoirs which recall and recount for us the building project which Nehemiah gave himself to and oversaw in relation to the walls of Jerusalem which were broken. A grand design project of the ancient world, if ever there was one. One of my favourite grand design episodes features Francis and Karen Shaw, who bought a crumbling and dilapidated 14th century castle in Yorkshire. And with a combination of vision and hard work, they oversaw the rebuilding of that castle into a beautiful family home. Francis was an architect, and therefore, because of his skill and experience, he was able to bring integrity to the planning process. Francis and Karen also employed qualified and experienced stonemasons, and they, because of their skill and their knowledge, were able to bring integrity to the work that they did, coping the stones and shaping and rebuilding that crumbling castle. Integrity mattered and was a key condiment in that building project in Yorkshire. And integrity mattered to Nehemiah when he engaged on the building project, not just of helping to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, but helping to rebuild the wider nation. Integrity and transparency, which we read of in Nehemiah chapter 5, which provides the focus for our brief reflection today. We've been looking at the qualities of Nehemiah, the open qualities that he had, and today we want to consider, finally, in our introduction to Nehemiah, the open life which Nehemiah displayed through having integrity and transparency. Nehemiah has recognized the poverty of the people. He's spoken to the priests and the nobles and the officials and, in a sense, put them in their place. And he goes on in verse 14 of Nehemiah chapter 5 to say this. Moreover, from the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah until his 32nd year, 12 years, neither I nor my brothers ate the food allotted to the governor. But the earlier governors, those preceding me, placed a heavy burden on the people and took 40 shekels of silver from them in addition to food and wine. Their assistants also lorded it over the people. But out of reverence for God, I did not act like that. Instead, I devoted myself to the work on this wall. All my men were assembled there for the work. We did not acquire any land. Furthermore, 150 Jews and officials ate at my table, as well as those who came to us from the surrounding nations. Each day, 1 ox, 6 choice sheep, and some poultry were prepared for me, and every 10 days an abundant supply of wine of all kinds. In spite of all this, I never demanded that the food allotted to the governor, because the demands were heavy on those people. Remember me with favour, O my God, for all I have done for these people. Nehemiah was a man of integrity. Nehemiah was a man of transparency. Nehemiah was a man who did things not for personal gain or self-gratification. Nehemiah was not after the prerequisites of office, but Nehemiah was one because of the integrity that he had, one who served the people and used his personal resources and sacrificed his comfort and his rights and entitlements. Nehemiah was a man of integrity whose life stood up to scrutiny. When Nehemiah learned of the way some of the people were being cheated and sold into slavery by others in the city, he quickly shone a light on it and put a new solution in place. He wouldn't stand for the iniquities that had been going on for quite a while. Nehemiah had an open life. He had integrity and he had transparency. And what Nehemiah did is rare in contemporary leadership today. Contemporary leadership today, where abuse of power is rife, where people use property and other things for their own gain, where leaders even in government misapply and misappropriate money, where corruption is celebrated sometimes as the order of the day. But Nehemiah was not party to any of that. Nehemiah is an example in selfless leadership. Nehemiah is an example of transparency and integrity and of one who had an open life. Nehemiah reminds me of the late Reverend Dr. Billy Graham and the Modesto Manifesto. Let me share that with you. In 1948, a then 31-year-old Billy Graham was coming off a successful stint as a Youth for Christ evangelist and entering a period of independent ministry that we know now lasted almost 6 decades. His team included the late George Beverly Shea, Grady Wilson and Cliff Barrows. The quartet were young and were charismatic and good-looking. As Christianity entered its heady post-war boom, Americans flocked to the meetings. But to guard against allegations or the actual abuse of money, sex and power that had felled previous evangelists, the Graham team decided to take concrete steps to avoid the slightest whiff of controversy. They gathered in a hotel room in Modesto, California, and they drew up what became known as the Modesto Manifesto. It contained provisions and guidelines for distributing money raised by offerings and avoiding criticism of local churches. But the most famous provision of the manifesto called for each man on the Graham team never to be alone with a woman other than his wife. And Billy Graham and the other members of the team pledged from that day forward not to eat, travel or meet with a woman other than his own wife Ruth or the other wives on the team for the other team members unless other people were present. And that manifesto, that pledge, that commitment to integrity guaranteed Billy Graham's sexual probity and enabled him to dodge accusations that have waylaid evangelists before and many since. Billy Graham was committed to integrity and was a man of shining integrity. And therefore, if we are to be like Billy Graham, like Nehemiah, men and women, boys and girls of integrity, we need to have a manifesto based on the Bible, so that in all we do, we would please the Lord and honour him. May we have that open life quality, that quality that Nehemiah had of transparency and integrity. the open qualities of Nehemiah's life, the open door, the open mind, the open heart, the open mouth, and the open life. May we, with Christ's help, seek to embody those Nehemiah-like qualities in our life so that we, like Nehemiah, would have the favour of the Lord.